What's cracking, everybody? New video. This is the third video today. I did a reaction video on the other channel, and then I did a video here, and it's under review. It's a video about some interactions with some COs in prison. For some reason, it's got a problem with ad suitability. So I saw in the comment section, yesterday, I did a reaction video on my other channel regarding the 16 to Life interview with Chill and Bam from Compton. And I said in the video, I didn't see the whole video. I only saw what I saw with you guys, right? And that I didn't see where either one of them was being prejudiced or anything like that. And I wake up this morning and there are people saying, you should watch the whole thing. And I want to make sure that everybody understands this. I don't get into YouTube beefing. I don't like negative energy at all. And I try to just, I touch on certain things, but I don't want to get into the whole riling people up, because people have their opinions of what things are really like, even if they've never been there. That's a strange thing to me. But I did see that a couple people said that Bams did give his version of why the riot happened in New Folsom at the time, and that his version of why the riot happened was that a Southern Mexican owed a black dude some money, and the black dude slapped him. I've actually heard that a couple times, right? And when I hear it, it blows my mind. If Bams was there in 1996, when all that stuff happened, and Bams is honest, he would have to admit that as far as the Southerners on that yard at that time, they were vicious, okay? Let me explain something for those that don't know. And I'll go into a little something. So, as far as the Southern Mexicans, it's like this. Men are going to be men. You cannot tell another man what to do. You can only advise him of what's expected, okay? It is expected back then, okay? I'm not in prison right now. Back then, it was expected that Southerners were not to buy or purchase any black, any white, any type of drug, anything from the blacks, in order to avoid nonsense. But more importantly, when you buy from them, you're enriching their organization. So you keep the money in-house. That's the expectation that everybody is supposed to function under and does function under. I can tell you that myself personally, I had conversations with individuals, men that I thought, wasn't sure yet, but I knew they used, and I had engaged in conversation with them and just reminded them, check it out. Anybody that buys off the blacks, it never fails. It's always the same thing. It doesn't matter who you buy off of. You buy off a white or a black, whatever. When your money's good, it's all good. But as soon as your money gets funny, let's stick to the blacks. As soon as your money gets funny, they come and say, hey, your homie owes me some money. Now, the people that they go to say, hey, your homie owes me money, They're not going to pay your debt. They will not pay another Southerner's debt. They pay with blood, though. What happens is that Southerner's going to get whacked. Okay? So, that said, that being understood, fully understood, who in their right mind is going to believe that a Southerner got slapped and all the other Southerners decided that they had to go to war over that? Everybody's making money. If that dude got slapped, the Southerners would have just whacked him for being a coward and for buying where he wasn't supposed to buy. That's simple. It's as simple as it is. So I don't understand how, I think somebody said Bams mentioned in the video that he knew Mexicans don't buy off of blacks. So how does that make sense? If they get caught buying off of blacks, they get whacked by their own. Southerners going to whack another Southerner for buying dope off of black. So if a dude got slapped, that's 2 strikes. First you bought off him, then you got slapped and punked it. They're not going to go to war with that. They're not going to mess their money off. Now, I will say this. Again, I was in the back. But anybody that's been to prison can tell you. When something happens, everybody finds out. What was it over? What really happened? This isn't to make anybody look bad. Okay? But let me start off by this. Let's make sure, okay, I'm not going to go into the details of stuff. You guys know I don't do that. But again, if Bams was there, then he's going to remember these things. They had taken the weight pile, brought it back. The Bulldogs wrestled Northerners on the weight pile. They took their weights. The weight pile was big. What did the administration decide to do? They took all the weights again. They built a little fenced-in area. Then they put the weights back in there. Anybody that was there during the time will remember that. They brought the weights back. Then they issued cards. You had to go and do a physical to prove that you were healthy enough to be in the weight pile. Okay? The problem was that the weight pile was in the Southerner and the Bulldog area. Okay? To get into the weight pile, you had to get there at a certain time. Now, the blacks kept walking through the Southerner area and kept walking through the Bulldog area in order to get to the weight pile. I was still out there when that happened. And again, this is a lack of communication is what created this problem. I went 2 different times with somebody to talk to 2 different people with the black factions about how they can get to the weight pile without it being basically a security violation. Because there were times when homies would be doing pull-ups and blacks would walk right through the pull-up bars while dudes would drop down. What the fuck's this? What is this all about? Or they would cut across the basketball court in a hurry to get in the weight pile. And it was creating a lot of tension. So I'm going to tell you that. There was a lot of tension being created by the fact that people were not respecting other people's boundaries. People started feeling like, oh, so they think it's a game. I will say that at the very end, I don't know where Bams got that theory that somebody was slapped. But I can tell you this. Leading up to it, whenever there's going to be a war, usually you can feel it, especially if there's buildup and especially if there's been communications and the communications haven't been working. Everybody knows what happens when communications aren't working. And I will say this. There was a point where there was an offer from the blacks. If all this tension is over debt, we'll erase everybody's debt and start from scratch. The reason why it wasn't out of cowardice is because there was so much money being made. So they had said, hey, we'll squash all the debt. And the Raza said, nah, don't trip. Ain't nobody tripping on that. Because the lack of communication and the lack of respect over several months regarding boundaries had already been determined that there was going to have to be a penalty for that. Okay. So, again, Bam is telling his version of his truth. But I know for a fact, if there would have been a Southerner that would have got caught buying, he'd have got hit. And if he would have got slapped for that, he would have really been done. Everyone else isn't going to get involved because that dude couldn't handle his debt and was a pussy on top of it. So there you go. It is what it is. Everybody be safe, be smart, and tell the ones you love that you love them, right? I'm out.